Hey guys, Haley here with Hunter Hayes.
How's it going?
So, Hunter, you're coming to New Orleans on September 7th to play a benefit concert for Ochsner Medical Center. The people of Louisiana have followed your career over the years. What's it like coming back to play a local headlining show?
No, it's huge. I mean, it's huge. There's this funny story. The last time I played in New Orleans, we did the Gretna Heritage Fest, I think, about a year ago. But before that, the only time I've done a headline show in New Orleans was, I guess, about a year and a half ago. It was back in March or April, not of last year, but the year before. And I know of last year, yeah. And basically, it was at the beginning of the radio tour. So it was right when Storm Warning was fixing to come out. It hadn't come out yet, and we were kind of playing everything for the first time. I mean, it was like the second time I had played with this band that has now been with me since. But we did this show, and we had to fly people in order to get people there. We brought in a bunch of friends from country music radio all over the country. Because that was kind of that was really my first show as an official country music artist with a record or whatever you want to call it or whatever. But it's so interesting now because, so much has happened since then. The record obviously came out. We're now in single 2 and it's doing well. and we've done, I've done my headline shows way more now than I ever thought I would, and we did a whole run of them last fall. We did a whole, I think, 30-date headline tour, and then we did a ton in the spring, and we toured with Taylor Swift and Rascal Flatts, and yada yada yada. All these things have happened, and there's such a big jump, a big step that has been made since then. And I only say that because I'm looking at the 2 shows comparatively back to back, and it's funny because now we're coming in with I sat through programming my lights for my set last night for the first time in my life. I actually get to see my set that I drew out on graph paper come to life. And all these ideas I've had and all these things I've wanted to do for literally years finally happened literally last night as we were getting ready for the show. And so this is a big show for me. This is a big show for me because this is our last chance to do a headline show this year before we go out on the road with Carrie Underwood for the Blown Away tour, right? And it's kind of, it's a homecoming for me for sure. I mean, even though I'm technically from Lafayette, I've got a lot of friends and family coming to this show. And then you combine all of that with kind of like you said, it's a fundraiser for the Ochsner Clinic, which is really cool. I've got a lot of friends who sort of are part of the Ochsner Clinic Foundation, I guess, if you will. And so it's really cool to sort of combine all those things for me and have such a great reason to come home and do a show and do a big show. And I'm stoked, to say the least. We're all really excited. We're all kind of, we're keeping late nights just to make sure this thing, when it happens right, and it happens the way we've wanted it to for a long time.
Yeah, always better safe than sorry. You're also playing the national anthem at the Saints home game opener on September 9th, which is also your 21st birthday. Did you ever dream that that's what you would be doing on your 21st birthday of all things?
It's hilarious because, it's awesome because what happened was, management talked to me about this. They were like, hey, would you be interested in staying over and doing the national anthem for the Saints game? And I was like, are you kidding? Absolutely. I grew up in Louisiana. Why this? Yes. Why are you even asking me this? But then as I was looking at the schedule, I think a month later, I called my manager and I was like, you did not tell me that this was going to be on my birthday. And I was like, and they were like, oh, do you want to move it or whatever they said, and I was like, no, this is perfect. So I'm really excited. Some of my family and friends are staying over, and they're gonna kind of be in town for that as well. And that's come on, that's hard to beat. That's pretty hard to beat. I don't know how I'm gonna top that, if I'm ever gonna be able to top that. So yeah, it's awesome.
How has growing up in Southern Louisiana influenced your music over the years?
Well, obviously I grew up around a lot of Cajun music, around a lot of, and subsequently a lot of sort of country music, and that's where I fell in love with country music, and that's when I started writing. That's what it was, my first songs, which didn't make any sense at all, and quite frankly, I don't even know if they do anymore still or not, but it was country music, and it was sort of it had a little bit of sort of a blues aspect too. There's something I do. There's something that comes out of my, I guess, guitar playing every now and then, a little bit of piano playing. That's got this sort of New Orleans jazz and South Louisiana blues influenced thing. So there's that, you know what I mean? And there's just the fact that I grew up around, music about real life, lyrically. Even though a lot of the stuff I was playing at the time was in French and I had to get translation for it, it was all about things that, you and I can relate to. And I think that's when I fell in love with music that actually has a meaning, a deeper meaning, and a deeper just a subject that's real, right? And all of that has come through on the first record. If you listen to the first record, you hear a little bit of that, blues influence, like on Somebody's Heartbreak. This song called Somebody's Heartbreak on the record has a sort of a guitar vibe, and a song called Rainy Season all have a little bit of that blues kind of thing. And then even if you listen to a song like Love Makes Me, which is a song that I wrote that's not necessarily, you can't pick it up right off the bat, what the influences are, where they're coming from. But if you listen to it now, after I've told you this, you can sort of hear kind of a sort of Louisiana thing to it, like a New Orleans jazz kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it. You just have to hear it and see what I'm talking about. But it definitely shaped my sound. It gives me whatever unique stamp I have. I don't know what it sounds like, my stamp or whatever you want to call it, my thing. I can't put it into words, and I can't necessarily describe it for you. But I know that whatever it is because I spent my life growing up in South Louisiana.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that would have a big impact on anyone. If you grew up north somewhere, you might be singing pop songs on the radio right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Where you grow up, where you come from, always reflects in your music, and because that's your personality, it's your life. Yeah.
Music is such a big thing down here in New Orleans and southern Louisiana as it is, so I can see how that would have a great impact on it.
Absolutely.
You also moved to Nashville at age 16. How do you think that moving there so young changed your life?
Well, what was funny is at 16, that wasn't soon enough. Yeah, I was in high school just wanting to go and make music all the time. I remember I would sit in high school, I would look at pictures of buses, and I would draw out this set that I actually just got to see that I was talking about, the stage set, and I would literally imagine myself in this world when I was in middle school and high school. So, the fact that I moved at 16, that I sort of graduated early as a junior almost, I finished my junior year and then moved to Nashville immediately and took an accelerated course to graduate, high school. The fact that all that happened, just tells you how much I was ready to make music. It was really tough for me to leave Louisiana. It wasn't easy. That's where my family was. That's where all of my family is. It's not like my family's scattered out all over the place. Most of my family's in Louisiana, in and around my hometown, of Breaux Bridge and Lafayette, and so moving was groundbreaking for me. Especially my personality, my whole family. We think about things before we make big decisions like that. And the Nashville move happened so quickly and so naturally and so organically that we didn't fight it, we didn't think about it. But once you get there, once I got here, rather, it was kind of one of those things where it was like you kind of had the shock value for a little while, where I was all of a sudden starting over, with my friends and my, the people that I know and all that good stuff. And it was very nerve-wracking because it happened all around the same time that it actually happened before the typical time where somebody like me would go off to college, or whatever. It happened a year early, so you can about imagine the sort of shock that had on my sort of on everything, my family, my friends, my handling of situations. I mean, everything changed all of a sudden. But it happened, like I said, so not forced. I mean, it just, everything came together in a plan that just seemed to be already written out and already rehearsed and just, ready, And it happened so well that I don't think any of us turned around and were like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. Everything happened so well, so organically that now it just seems like it was the move I had to make for my career. My music had to be in the music city, in the place where all of the country music that I listen to and have grown up, listening to and that I love. I had to be in the city where all that was made, because this is the Mecca, this is the place to be. And now that I've moved here, I totally see why. You can't. It's hard. A lot of people do it and they're successful at it, and I props to them because it is there is some magic to being in the city that is so hard to replicate. And like I said, a lot of people do it, and I applaud them for it. I always felt like I needed to be in the city, in Nashville, and here for the music, and the move has absolutely changed my life. It's changed me as a person. It's changed my family's lives, and my parents sacrificed a lot to get me here, and I'm grateful for that because it was a dream come true. It's exactly what I wanted to be doing. It's where I wanted to be. I dreamed of being in a tour bus with a bunch of gear, and now I've got a bus and a truck and all this good stuff, and we're on the road every week. We will have completed 200 tour dates by the end of this year, and so that is my dream. That's where I've always wanted to be.
Do you think that you could have accomplished what you're accomplishing now if you hadn't moved to Nashville, like if you would have stayed here in the Lafayette-Breaux Bridge area?
I could have, but I don't think I would have. You have to. I feel like I would have had to have a previous complete understanding of the music business in order to go to a satellite station and start work somewhere else. And that's not something that I could have thought about and processed without coming here, living here, being a part of the whole vibe. I think I needed to be here. I think I still need to be here because I love it. I love being able to get in my car and drive to my little studio downtown where I go to write and do all my goofy demos and stuff like that, and I'm surrounded by people there, who are writing, who are doing their thing, and there's something inspiring about it. There's something also a little bit competitive about it as well, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I think it was right. As much as as much as I miss everything, my family in Louisiana, my home, all my friends, the food, for God's sake, I miss the food. And, all those things that I look forward to going back to Louisiana to catch up on, But I think it's a sacrifice you make for your dream. I think everybody does that at some point or another. And, that's part of my story.
Yeah, you definitely, hopefully, whenever you're here this weekend, you'll be reconnected with some of your old family and friends, and also with the food. I agree with you. The food is just fantastic here. You cannot top it anywhere else.
No, you can't. You just can't. Yeah.
You just can't do it. All right. So, no stranger to sharing the stage with country superstars growing up, or even now, you're about to head out on a major tour with Carrie Underwood. Are you preparing any differently for this tour than you have for past tours?
Yes. Yes, and I'm going to spare you the 2-hour answer of that, because I very much so have one. But yes, this tour is a big step for me. I toured with Taylor and Flats, like I said, but that was the Taylor tour. I was acoustic for 20 minutes. or something like that. I don't remember the details of that. But and then the Rascal Flatts tour was awesome, but it was, we only did I think it was 15 dates, and that's over a span of 2 months. And to say only feels ridiculous in that context. But for me, I'm a guy who's used to playing, 4 to 5 gigs a week, every week of the year. This tour is totally different. We're doing 55 dates with Carrie, and we are the direct support, which, we'll be going right in front of, her show, which is going to be awesome. And so we have a little bit more time. We have a little bit more freedom production-wise. And she's been really cool about all this stuff, too. But this is my first time also getting to build a set. We started last year. I don't know if you've seen the videos, but basically I wanted a set, but I couldn't afford one. I couldn't actually bring one. I couldn't fit one in the trailer. We spent the whole year literally having to play Tetris with the gear in the trailer because, we didn't have enough room for everything. And so I designed this thing where basically everything we had to carry, all of our gear that was on stage already, we took paintbrushes to, and we made it look like a chalkboard with a bunch of lyrics on it. And we did that with everything. We did that with our amps, our pianos, our drums. A lot of our guitars have actually chalk on them. And we did that so that I could have a set, so that I could have a look without being able to build a set. And so now that we have time, this is my first chance actually getting to build a set. So I designed the set. I sent it into my set designer, my buddy, and he drew it up exactly, how I had kind of seen it, and he started adding some things to it, and we've added so many elements now. It's small, it's compact, and it's simple, but it is. This is a dream come true for me. One, being able to go on a tour and be a part of the whole thing for months at a time, but to get to design that set is something I've been waiting to do for a long time. This is something. This has been in the design since I was in high school. So, preparing for this tour very differently. This is the first time I've done more than, a week of rehearsals. We are now in week 2 of rehearsals just for this show, just for this tour. And we're going to be going in. We're actually spending this week focusing a little bit more on Friday night show, at the Mahalia Jackson. So, it's actually kind of, this week has been focused a little bit towards, our show down there, but next week is our final week, and we're going to be focusing on just the show for the Carrie Underwood tour. So the preparation for it has been the most intense it has ever been for me. And I'm totally okay with that, because that means that, this show is going to be one of the most important shows I've ever been able to put together. And the cool thing is I get to do it 60 times. So, and not only that, but we also get to take this on the road next year and expand on it some more for our headline stuff, which is really going to be cool to see. But I'm just excited about it now, so I can't imagine how excited I'll be then. But that's way down the road. But yeah, no, this is a totally different game for me now. Yeah.
Your current single, "Want It," has gone platinum. How does that make you feel to have a song that has gone platinum?
It's a dream come true. It's literally, I'm on cloud 9. I get texts from my friends, every day of the week now, just kind of saying they've heard on the radio, and the hearing on the radio is awesome. Actually, last night, we wrapped up, programming lights, and I came home, and I'm backing into the garage, and Want It comes on the radio, and yeah, between that and platinum, and it's huge. It's so huge, because I had a lot of people, I had a couple of key people on the team say, "Oh yeah, that's going to be the song. That's going to be a big song for you, on this record." And you sort of, you believe them, you trust them, but you don't know what big song means, when you're putting out your first record. You don't know what to expect. And to have this to sort of measure up to next time is a little intimidating, but no, it's absolutely awesome. It's something you hear about. You hear the terms platinum and, top 5 or, all that good stuff, and you spend your life kind of wondering what that feels like, and now I know. Now I know, and it feels really good. It feels really good. And I think the best part is when you start a song in your show. Like when I start Wanted in the show, I don't even have to introduce it anymore. And people are singing along to every word. There's been quite a couple shows where we didn't have enough PA to overcome the room because people were singing the song. So many people were singing, and they were singing so passionately, so loudly, that you couldn't actually hear the PA, which, trust me, I don't mind. You know, it's one of the best feelings in the world.
The sound people might be bothered by it, but you're not.
Yeah, I'm not bothered by it at all.
Speaking of your debut album, you co-produced the album, co-wrote the songs, and played all the instruments. Why did you decide to be so involved in the process of recording?
Well, you know, it wasn't as much of a decision as it was a habit. This is a process I've done for years. Okay, so it was born out of necessity. Let me just put it to you that way. Back when I started writing, when I was kind of doing my thing for the first time, I had my little studio set up in my house, you know, and I had a bunch of gear in a band trailer. Because I started kind of accumulating pieces of studio gear as a kid because I was I became a studio nerd really, really fast. It kind of appealed to the other side of my brain, the technical side of my brain, that didn't have as much fun when I was being totally creative. And so it was kind of this way to satisfy both sides of the brain, you know, and work all the time, but in a different mindset and work differently. Okay, and so, you know, with that said, no one was really around to do demos for me, and I couldn't afford it even if they were. And so, you know, I actually had a couple of buddies who gave me the keys to their studio a couple of times just to get work done. But I basically did that on my own. I did my demos on my own for so long because I had to, because there was no one else around. And I wanted to hear demos of these songs I was writing. I wanted to hear them done. I wanted to hear them like they sounded in my head. And it just, that was my only way of getting them done, you know. And I had done that process for so long. I'd write it. I'd get gear out of the music gear out of the trailer, and I'd start tracking it one instrument at a time. You know, I was learning one instrument at a time. I started learning instruments for the sake of these demos. You know, I remember there was one demo I really wanted a steel guitar on, so I sat down with a steel guitar. My buddy had one. I went over to his place, and I started recording. And I sat down with it from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning just to get this one part recorded like I was hearing it. And I finally got it done, thank heavens. But you actually hear that part on the record. We retracked a couple of things. But anyway, it was all a process, you know, in order to get the demos done. And when I went to Nashville, everybody was like, well, this is actually kind of an interesting sound, you know. And a couple of people couldn't decide if it was good or bad, and I was in the same boat. But there was something interesting about the same perspective coming from, you know, songwriting and then playing every instrument, all translated by the same person, all communicated by the same person, by the same mind, the same sort of attitude as you know, that I wrote the songs with. And there's something cool about that for me. And musically, there's some things that you sort of sacrifice by doing that, and that, you know, there's a lot of compensation that has to take place. But I think it's totally. I mean, it's totally worth it when you're able to, as a songwriter, as a songwriter, get in there, you know, and be the musician and do all that other stuff and see the song from all those different perspectives and get to be involved so heavily. Again, it's not something I would have walked into Nashville and said, I have to do this way. But I'm really glad we did.
Do you think you'll do that on your other albums that you're going to release, hopefully more over the years?
I think so, yeah. I think things are going to change. I think it's going to evolve. I mean, my biggest fear is just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So, yeah. You know, to say that the next record will be exactly like that, no. But did I find a process on that record, on that first record, that really works for me and that I'm really comfortable with? Yeah, I did. And I think that's something to sort of set the bar at, comfortable-wise. You know, I think that's something that I want to keep doing that way. You know, or at least very close to. You know, I like collaborations, so you'll probably see me bring in some people on this next record or whatever, just because I love that interaction. I love the way music kind of gets translated in different ways. But there are going to be a lot of songs that I spend a lot of my time doing by myself just because that's the way I work.
Now, it's almost been a year since your debut album was released. I know you're still touring and promoting it like we talked about with the big Carrie Underwood tour coming up, but when can fans expect to hear new music, like a new single on the radio or something like that?
Well, Wanted is still kind of our single right now off this record. We're gonna have another single coming off this record. I haven't announced it yet. I'm not going to. I'm gonna keep it a secret. I'm keeping everybody in suspense. But we're gonna have another single off this record. Maybe even two more. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of early to talk about anything else. I mean, yeah, I write all the time. And yes, I'm thinking about it, as a songwriter and sort of in the pre-production kind of mindset. But, I mean, right now, honestly, a lot of my attention is focused on the Carrie Underwood tour, so I can't really think about anything else, I am, sort of just because that's my habit. I'm always kind of trying to be productive and stay ahead. But right now, I'm just ready to play the show. I'm ready to see this production out on the floor, on the stage in an arena, for the first time, or see it, at Mahalia Jackson for the first time. And I'm just stoked about my production, my show, getting to play these songs the way I've never been able to play them quite yet. So, I don't know. I'm just kind of excited for what's going on right now.
Yeah, well, definitely some exciting things going on in your future. Thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with us today. Do you have
Absolutely.
anything else that you'd like to say to anybody that's listening?
Just thank you. Thank you. I have so much to be thankful for, and I have so many people to thank. Sometimes it's kind of overwhelming just to think of where I am and where I have been, compared to where I am. And it's just, I'm living my dream, and I just want to say thank you because it's huge. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody out, Friday night. It's going to be a fun show. We have a one-off show planned for you guys. At first we were excited about doing a show, and then we decided we were going to do a show. we're pulling out all the stops, and we're doing everything we can because we think this is a benefit concert, and it's worth kind of going the extra mile to make sure that we put on the best show we've done yet. And so that's exactly what we plan on doing.
All right. Well, thanks again. It was great
Absolutely.
talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for